What's up, folks? Joshua Bardwell here. I've long had a policy of whatever I'm doing, make a video about it. And today, that means you get to watch me replace a broken switch on my RadioMaster TX16S. And this is a little bit different. You may have seen some tutorials for older radios where you just put in one new switch and solder it up maybe, or maybe the switch plugs in. But the RadioMaster TX16S has the switches soldered to PCBs, and it's not quite as simple as you might hope. Let's get into it. Whoa, Joshua, don't open that case yet. First thing you need to do whenever you work on your radio is take out the battery. This is the Race Day Quad 5000 milliamp hour 2S battery. Fits perfectly in this giant battery bay on the RadioMaster, and I recommend it. Link in the video description below. Then we're going to take out the screws. I'm having a real problem with these freaking Phillips head screws on this radio. They always strip out. This is not just the RadioMaster, it's all of these freaking radios. I'm going to replace these screws later with some better screws. Stay tuned to the end of the video to find out what screws I use. Hey, you happy with me, YouTube? They're going to watch. Get that engagement going. Okay, let's take out these screws. There are 4 screws you need to take out. On the back, just 4 screws. And there are 2 screws you need to remove on the top for this little thing that holds the antenna. They're 2.5 millimeter metric screws. And be careful when you lift this up. The antenna wire is connected, so don't pull on it. Just gently lift it up and set it aside. And for the record, you do not have to remove the back grips like I've done here. They can stay on. Now we separate the halves. There is a wire on some of these radios going to the speaker, which was moved to the front of the radio. So just go ahead and disconnect those wires and set that aside. Next, we're going to remove the switch nuts from the broken switch. This is a special switch nut removing tool. If you've ever bought a set of switch nuts, you probably own one of these. If you haven't, you probably don't. And you could just use your fingers or a screwdriver or something, but it is a pretty cool little tool for doing this. Now we're going to remove this zip tie carefully so as to not nick any of the wires. And we'll unplug the broken switch. On this radio, all of the switches are plugged and soldered to a PCB, so there's no soldering involved for replacing the switch. But now we start to run into the first problem, which is that you can't get this damn thing out without some more disassembly. It's well jammed in there. So we're going to remove these 2 screws that hold in the side slider and take out the side slider, and careful there, Joshua. That is not going to be enough either, but there's 2 screws holding that guy in. We'll go ahead and take them out. Here's the second screw. It took me a minute to find it. Alrighty, now that we got this guy out of here, it still won't come out. It's stuck in by the gimbal housing. Yep. We're going to have to take the gimbal out too. It's not that bad. Just a little annoying though. There are 4 screws holding the gimbal down. If you look carefully, you can see which ones they are. There's a whole bunch of other screws holding the gimbal together and adjusting the gimbal, but the 4 screws go through the gimbal into the front plate. You can see me accessing them here. And once you do that, the gimbal will lift out of the way. And finally, the switch is free. A lot of people ask where I got these nice purple parts. You can't buy a RadioMaster TX16S with these parts in it, but you can buy the parts separately in several different colors. You got to install them yourself, but you can customize your radio with switches, gimbal plates, and everything. I'll put a link to that down in the video description. And finally, we insert the new switch and basically just put everything back together the way that it was. Don't forget to put that zip tie back on those cables and route them the same. Just look at the other side if you're not sure how to do it, but you definitely want those wires to be routed up and away from the movement of the gimbal so they don't get snagged. Only one more thing that I need to show you, and that is those special screws that I replaced the back screws with so that they don't strip out. Yeah, good thing you stuck around for all 4 minutes of this video. My retention is going to be so high right now. On all of my radios, the very first time I take the radio apart, I replace the Phillips head screws that hold the radio together with M2.5 by 8 millimeters. Seems to be about the right length. I replace it. The threads on these radios are just plastic. It's just molded into the plastic. This screw is a tiny bit bigger and the threads don't exactly match the factory screws, but it just digs into the plastic and I haven't had any problems with it. The advantage is that the M2.5, it's driven by a 2 millimeter driver, and that hex head does not strip out. It's beautiful. It's wonderful, and it saves me so much trouble going forward. You probably don't have M2.5 screws sitting around your house. I'm going to put a link in the video description to an M2.5 screw assortment, or you can just search for M2.5 by 8mm screws, and you're going to buy probably 100 of them and use 4 and never use the others again. But to me, it's well worth doing, because those freaking factory screws, the Phillips head on them, always strips. At least it does for me. That's going to do it for this video. If you like this kind of content, definitely hit the subscribe button and like this video so YouTube knows that you want to see more content like this. And if you're interested in seeing what I like about the RadioMaster TX16S versus several other really good radios that you could be looking at right now, I've got a radio buyer's guide roundup, and I'll put a link to that down in the video description. Thanks for watching. Happy flying. What are you doing in here? The least you could do is subscribe or join my Patreon, or like just here's another video I picked out for you. Jeez.